I've just set that stream up. There's definitely some different levels here within the group. Felix is kind of had a bunch of clients, but looking to get more consistent clients. Alyosha's worked on some online stuff in sort of sales training, and he's got kickboxing background. He's doing some other work at the moment, but he's building that business out. Brandon Davis is an established chiropractor with a really strong business in Austin, Texas, and he's looking to build an online component into what he's doing there. Brandon Scott is quite similar to Felix, looking to get started with his business out of his garage gym and then start some online stuff. He's a pharmacist transitioning into personal training. Chris O'Toole has experience in, he worked at Equinox and LA Fitness, and he's got sales skills and is further along on his journey. He's in a strong position kind of financially and got some experience and wants to leverage that into new projects. Garrett didn't speak today, but he's getting started. He's looking to get more of the entrepreneurial side going, building up his momentum. Ian is from South Africa. He's a high-level squash player, looking to be national champion there and build out like a training system around that. Mick, and there's another squash player actually joined as well from England, who's in his 50s and playing some good squash. And then Osama is in Jordan. He's just graduated from Yale and doing some cool stuff with NFTs and crypto, and has a vision for making deserts beautiful again, Babylonian vision in Jordan. So that's a bit of a summary of where everyone's at. Excuse me if I messed something up on your behalf, gentlemen, but you're welcome to correct me on that in the chat box and put your hand up. But that's roughly where I'm seeing it.
I think that's impressive. You were able to hit, I don't know, everyone going through. Cool. So for those who don't know me, my name is Zach Mobius. Working with Uncom right now to help them kind of build up the systems and strategy, go from where they want to eventually hit $1 million per month. Founder at Dexata. So we're a software company that helps online fitness coaches who are data-driven get clients better results in a more efficient way. Originally, this is supposed to be a kind of 4-hour build out, and I think we're going to have that over the course of the next coming weeks. But today, I really just want to focus on, I think, a couple of big ideas that are going to help you guys think through, where do I want to go with my business? How am I going to measure that progress? And how do I start figuring out what to do now in order to move forward? I think a lot of the stuff that I've done with Keegan, none of it has been, I think, crazy in the sense that I'm pulling out this like new business vision or business venture that's never been done before, but it's asking the right questions based on where you're at and trying to get a very specific outcome we're trying to drive towards. A lot of the work we've done so far has been like getting very, very clear on the business we're trying to build, the systems that underlie that, and the team that's going to be able to do that. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't have a team, but you can take the same philosophy and principles and apply it to your business so you're building it out the right way. Over the next coming weeks, we're going to go over 0 to 10, 10 to 30, and then $30,000 to $83,000 a month. That'll get you to a 7-figure business. And then within those, just what I look at and prioritize from a strategy perspective, marketing, product, operations, and the things you guys should be looking at. So I think today we'll hop into a couple of big ones. The way I normally do my presentations is they're fairly interactive. So we're going to go over some big ideas and then try to figure out how they apply to your business. Over the course of the coming weeks, this is what it's going to look like. So taking you from the founder level to the principal level to building and scaling your MVP to getting product market fit and scaling. And we'll touch on this every time, but I do want to kind of build this out. Like, the goal for today is give you principles. There are a ton of different methods, but principles are really those underlying things that encompass everything. If you understand the principles of what you're trying to do, you can do anything with those. If you only understand how to use the method, as soon as that specific method stops working, you're going to be shit out of luck. And then what this is not prescriptive advice. I think really interesting thing in like the business community now is like, everything is so actionable and so action oriented of like 6 steps to get more leads, or like, this is how you build a landing page. This is how you do this. A lot of those are prescriptions and methods. So if you understand how to do that, that's great. But if you don't understand how to apply that to your business or where your business is in space, it's going to be really hard to do. It's kind of like, as an athlete, if you understand the game and you understand the rules within it and where you are in the field, you know what to do. If I just teach you how to make like a cut step, but like you don't have the context of like when to read the defense to do that, you're just going to be randomly doing that at times where like it doesn't necessitate that. Same thing if you're in a combat sport and you learn like one move. The arm bar is the only move I know from jiu-jitsu, so we'll just go with that. If you know how to do an arm bar, but you just randomly try and do an arm bar at times that like don't necessitate that, then you are the person who understands the prescription and the method, but doesn't understand the principles and when to apply it. So the big things today, I think as we look at this, I kind of want to go what your unique opportunity is, looking at the business you want to build, and then understanding the game metrics that underlie it. We're just going to cover each of those. It's going to be a bit of a back and forth. And then I want you guys to come away with this with the understanding of how to apply it to your business. So I think the best place to start with this is going to be a really good quote from Naval Ravikant. And this is, how do you understand what your unique opportunity is? He really summarized it best. So we're going to use his words, not mine, is like, what feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. I think anytime we're building a business, one of the most important things we can do is build the business around our unique skill sets and the unique value we can offer. Keegan hit the nail on the head when he was talking about online coaching. It's a very hard business to build in the sense that, like, especially from the 0 to 10K phase, it's very manual. You're trying to figure out like what to do and then repeat those actions on a very frequent basis. And a lot of the times, having gone through it, you kind of feel like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill. You go like getting inch by inch, you're getting closer and closer, but you're like, man, this is tiring. The unique thing about coaching, why it exists, is because you were able to take your unique skill sets, unique stories, unique value, and apply that out to the general public. If people didn't care about this and they didn't want very specific solutions, then we would just have 1 to 3 coaching companies. It would be a bit of a like oligopoly. And like everyone would just say, like, I want health and fitness advice. We're going to go to like CrossFit, this nutrition company, this one over here. And like, that's where they're going to get that stuff. But because what people are looking for is people like them who have achieved what they want to do, then you can have this splintering of online coaches where you can solve a very specific problem and then use your story as a lever point. So I think when you build your business, you want to look, okay, what is the unique value I can offer? Because that's going to go like, that's going to align with the opportunity you can go after. So when you're picking an opportunity, you want to pick something where your skills are in the highest demand, like highest value, least supply. So like you can charge more for that. But if you kind of take that context as well as like, who are the small subset of people who have this exact problem that I can solve? And this really answers the opportunity or niche question for a lot of you guys. Is it's going to look like you before you solve this problem. And where I see people in business go massively like awry is they're trying to solve a problem they don't understand because they've never gone through it. So they're just kind of like talking like, yeah, like I understand this from like a surface level and what you want to do. Whereas if you just built your business around you, the unique value you can provide and your understanding of the world through your stories, you are going to have so much more context and value you can deliver. So I think when you look at this one, especially, who thinks they're doing a really good job of this? So like they're 100% leaning into unique value, and who thinks that they're very unclear on what that unique value they provide is? You just want to throw your hand up, drop in the chat, and we can kind of cover a case study example there. Yeah. As we do this, Keegan, how has this become more prominent for you?
Yeah, this is something I go back and forth with because like my biggest win, right, was the rugby players and then working with Sonny Bill, and like it's still the athletic stuff that I've actually done well. If I go and speak to Elon Musk, I'm not going to talk to him about business. If I go and speak to the average person on the street, I'm going to talk to them about training systems and, you know, how to lose fat or how to get their body feeling amazing, how to feel athletic. Like it's still that physical stuff that I've had the biggest success with, but 2 trainers, I've done really well in business. I've had 7 businesses and made 50 grand a month. Most trainers have never had a 50 grand month. So like to trainers, that's what I have best. And so therefore I'm like leaning and pushing, and I want more guys to get that experience that I've had where you can make some money. But really what I'm probably best at still is like, this is a system for athletic development where you develop skills and speed and stamina. And like, this is a better way to do it. You use dance, you use range, and there's other conversations to have here to understand tension. And like, that's really my genius is still on coaching methods, but I want everybody to be making money. So I'm like wanting to talk about money, even though I'm not like a billionaire. I haven't scaled a company to an exit at 100 million or something where, you know what I mean? Like I'm not world class in that business niche or fitness business niche. So yeah, that's the challenge, is like, how do I'm working to be able to be world class in this and solve the problem. But what I am world class at, I need to also keep as part of my business and use as part of the way to bring people in.
I think that's a really good call out, because it kind of shows the progression. But I think you hit the, like, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's easy, like, once you like master something, to like want to focus on the thing that you're doing, and like that's all you're talking about, but you stop talking about, I think, your golden goose and what got you there. So you have these years and years and years of like developing players, getting people stronger, bigger, faster, like more mobile, like less injury prone. And then I think what you kind of saw with Keegan was a little bit back and forth of like, we did all that, and now we're focused on the business growth side. You can do both, but like, I would say never forget like where your heart is and like what your core is. So to answer Garrett's question, so like, to apply this principle, if I work with a small data science firm, is it prudent to look for small businesses that would benefit from data science services? Yes. So with this, I think I would look at like, there are a lot of small data science firms. Within that, what do you guys do really well? Like, data science is a huge field, especially that like AI and machine learning have become significantly bigger with the advances we've had in just like the past 6 months to a year. So within the field of data science, like, what is the value you guys add? And then what do you guys do differently? How do you think about it differently? Who do you serve differently? When you just say small businesses, it can be so big. Okay, it's cool. Fintech and insurance, pick one of those. Go really, really narrow until you guys are ultra successful. And like, then you earn the ability to broaden out. Garrett, does that make sense? You can give a thumbs up, hands up, drop a yes in the chat.
I lost chat a bit, but you said basically fine tune who we could explicitly help the most with the competitive advantages we've developed. And once we're overflowed with that work product, then we can look towards broadening our scope.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the way I would think about it is like, where are your skills most value and in least demand? Whether that is a specific industry, whether that is a specific like subset of an industry, like figure that out, and then you'll be able to figure out what to do next. Page. Okay, so Chris, we developed page enhancements on Amazon for the products we sell, but we don't have products that we own. We're selling other brands' products. How do we get more in line with these brands' issues more directly? So Chris, I think we've talked about this a little bit before. What is like, and you mentioned sporting goods and stuff like that. So like, what is the unique value you can provide? And then like, where do you just lean entirely into that without getting, I think, distracted and enticed by all of the other opportunities there?
Yeah, I think I took your advice last time to heart. You know, it's like, what is we need to get more and more of a clear niche in what we're doing. And I realized that we're still at the phase where we've got we already have a funnel with some brands in it. And so we're not even at the phase where we're out trying to market what we're doing. We're working with the brands we're already talking to and have a trust level with. And we're just trying to get our offer better to them, because maybe we're not doing a lot for them at the moment. So yeah, just for me, just clarifying what our offer is, trying to monetize what we're doing, because I think we've been giving away too much for free. And so now we're trying to transition to where we're making a little bit more money on the relationship. And that's, we actually had our first pitch on Friday And we came out of it feeling like, ooh, that was a little heavy handed, because we went from talking about free to everything to here's our services, and we're maybe missing some of the warm and fuzzy part of it. It's like, here's some references, here's some case studies on what's worked well for us. I feel like that's where we need to kind of lean into in the coming days ahead, just to help guide the brands to saying, yes, this is an easy yes, because it makes so much sense.
So to round that out, you say you're giving away too much for free. What is most valuable of what you give away? Because I think like when people say it, like I'm giving away too much for free, it tells me like there's not a clear understanding of like what's valuable and what's not. And what is like the one thing that like of all the things you do, what is the one thing you need to lean in on and say like we do this really well. Yes, we also offer X, Y, and Z. So does everyone else. But if you want this, come to us.
Yeah, I think what we do well is we really do a great job on the page enhancements. We've got a small but very effective team that is on the creative side. And we really lean into understanding the brand and the products as well as the brand does. So we're not just slapping up text and just, using Chat GPT to give us something to throw in there that might be keyword optimized. We're actually trying to understand the product and really present it in a way, because a lot of the brands talk wholesale, they don't talk to the retail customer. And so we take that wholesale language and turn it into something that is much more consumer friendly and understandable. I think that's what we do really well.
Cool. How much of the sales pitch or your focus or your marketing are you talking about that?
Not enough. I just realized as I was saying it to you that we're not highlighting that that's the unique thing that takes a lot of time and energy to do well. And that's something we definitely need to bring, because otherwise I think your point is, and I agree with you, just in front of us, we're just another commodity at this by saying we do these page enhancements. But if we say this is how we do the page enhancements, it's not just slapping up copy and images. I think that's a great point that you just made, right that's staring at me right in the face. So I appreciate you getting me to that point.
Cool. No, I'm excited to see how it goes. Cool. And then Chris said, like, I truly learned to sell PT to other trainers that lack business skill set. They're open and closed. Chris, is this a question? How are you thinking about this? We've talked on this before. So like, what's the question or lack of clarity here? You're on mute.
Yeah, it's more of solidifying the vision to myself of what I really like to do, to be focused on a specific product, as you were kind of trying to get me down out of the clouds in our meeting that we had this week. So it's that's like the product that I'm looking to be a part of, because it just it's really where my most experience is as being a manager for staffs, that I was always kind of judged on the success of my whole team. So that's really my wheelhouse. I just want to do that for, I guess, independent contractors or, things like that. So more of a declarative statement than a specific question. But now that I have AIM, I know what steps to follow, right?
Yeah. And the goal with all this, we'll get to it in like the 0 to 10, like you were not wed to this idea at all. You were trying to get enough. I think I've got it here. You're trying to get enough feedback, give you guys a sneak peek of the rest of this. Like when you're just starting out a business and you're launching, like you were just trying to get as simple as a possible like product out to collect the data you need to get feedback. That is it. Like, which is why I push people on as simple as possible, one product, that's it, because that allows you to get really good feedback on like, what am I delivering? What am I not? How do I fine tune and optimize that to like what these people want? Like, you don't expect it to be good right now, but like, if you can narrow in on like that specific thing of what we talked about of like your unique value, then you can circle back to this and say, okay, I have my unique value. I know what I want to offer. This product is a small subset of that. Let me put this out into the world and get feedback. Because until you do that, and you have people using it and trying it, and telling you what's good and what's not good. Because like nobody hits a home run like at the first at bat. You will never know what to do next in your business. So I think for you, like just simplify that one thing and then push that out, see how it goes, get a few people through like we talked about. And then, okay, like here's where I need to tweak. Here's where I need to go. And then Felix, I look to go for those clients that are following a pattern will work as them sitting and essentially aging as they go, bring them solutions to their pain points, which typically turn to hip/lower back. Okay, so Felix, you being a little more established, give me some more context here. What are you confident about? I know you were talking about switching up your offer a little bit. And then where do you need help?
So I have been able to get I would say clarity for myself in the past like well, we're already at 13 days in August that I've been going like super hard with Uncommon. Like this is when I went like all in with Uncommon stuff. So I feel like I can have these conversations much better now. But that was a big part of the issue. Like I can tell you this now, and that's where I have become more confident in saying like, hey, like this is what I want to focus on. And then it even reiterated further now that you were saying like, hey, like what is that specialty? What is that what you've gone through that you could sell? And for me, it was a little different because I never worked like a corporate job, but I was in school. I was slowing down on the working out. I was eating a little more. The pandemic hit me really heavy because I couldn't exercise much and all that stuff. And I was at a point where I had never been. My hips were hurting, my lower back was hurting and all that stuff. And that was something that I was able to get out of myself, get myself out of. And so that's where I have become more confident. And then I guess like I need help is, the execution. And then it's always somebody or something that's been said, and Keegan said it today. Hey, you need to worry more about doing the sales, like sales oriented things. Like how are you going to sell to people? And that's kind of where I like in the gray area that I'm at right now. It's more the conversion. Like I'm putting content out, I'm getting that growing. It's how do I make it turn into sales from there?
So I think with you, and I picked up one other thing when you were talking, do you know what does good look like to you? Like you mentioned, like, I'm not growing fast enough, or like these sales aren't converting well enough. Like, is there a number behind that? Or like, how do you know when you've hit good or like you have good growth?
So how do I say? From when I started, the pace or like the incoming new clientele was much higher than it is now. It's been pretty slow for the past couple of months. I also have to understand that summer, when it comes to your general population, I guess we'll call it, is that people want a vacation. People don't want to really do anything. It's kind of like the offset, winter, December, all that stuff that people don't want to do any training because they want to just be out and about. But it's just been slow the past like month or so. But I have given it a little bit of a different focus in regards of like how I work and what I focus on. So I have not been doing sales oriented things. I've been doing more behind the scenes, getting the product better to push out something a little bit better. But if I give you a specific numerical thing, no, I wouldn't tell you that I had one. It's just, I've been averaging between 1 and 4 sales in the past couple of months. From mid-July to now, I've had none, to give you an example. So I guess that it becomes a little more like, okay, I feel like nothing's happening.
Got it. Okay, we'll jump into like how to measure that. I think 2 things I want to pull out of there is, when you look at this stuff, yes, seasonality is a thing, but there are also businesses that are not impacted by seasonality.
Yeah.
So I think for you and everyone else, I would kind of posit, before we jump to like, oh, macro trends are the issue, seasonality, there's not enough leads, I'm capped out. I would look at your business and say like, what needs to be improved? Or what are the things that are stopping me from getting where I want to go? That's, I think, where we need to start, versus saying that like this is normally a slow time for people. Where is it? Cool. So we'll dive more into this in probably a separate time, but like, I think what I want everyone to look at from here is like, okay, we have the idea. Like, what is the one obstacle that's holding your business back? There's a concept called like the bottleneck principle, which came out of manufacturing, which essentially says that no matter how much you produce in one area, if like you have steps like A, B, C, D, and E, if B is a rate limiter, so like you can produce 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, and B can only produce 50, then you'll never produce more than 50 units because B like will cap your production. We can take the exact same thing and apply it to business, saying that like, of all the things that you could work on, what is the one thing that is holding your business back? So I want everyone to pause for a minute, drop in the chat what that is for you guys. And then Felix, we can come back to your business and kind of like recap this. But I think like these two things. So we'll put 2 minutes on the clock and then drop in the chat, like, what is this one obstacle for you? And yeah, Keegan had a really good point in the chat. When you say tons of opportunity, it generally means you don't know like what you're good at. And I like how you put it, like it's unlikely you're gonna be like world-class in multiple areas. It's a bit like of an egocentric fallacy to think that like when you look at the people who are truly world-class, so like Usain Bolt, great example. Guy trained for 4 years to shave 0.1 off the 100. Massively rewarded for that. But spent 4 years thinking about like just how to run faster. And then for people to say like, there's tons of opportunity, I'm going to dominate it all without like specific focus is a bit of a fool's errand. You end up very average at best in a lot of areas. So I only see one answer so far in the chat, expecting 10 of them.
And you can build a good life off being average at 10 things if you have a personal brand built around that and you can help other people get up to average. Like it's a way to build a fat loss business, to work with obese people. As an overweight guy, it's possible to build a great fat loss business. And you can also leverage that you used to be a computer programmer and now you're overweight, but you're not obese, and you have fun with your children, and you can make like, as a small brand that does 10K a month, 100% you can do it like that. To take that thing and make $1 million a month, like difficult, but you know, probably not impossible. But yeah, the bigger you're thinking, the more it's like, what's the one thing that I'm good at? Where like, if I was going to leave one impact point on mankind, what would it be? And that's probably still the best way to get to 10K as well, but not the only path to like that's one thing that I've noticed, Zach, when I'm speaking to players. It's that I always look through that lens of like what could be the $1 million a month thing. Like Ben Patrick's gone to the $1 million a month, and so I'm like, okay, well, how else can I get? Who else can I get to pass that $1 million a month thing? But yeah, it's not what you're at the moment, Felix. Like I would like for you to have that side that you're building. That's like, yeah, this is where I'm going to leave my mark on mankind. Then there's the other side of like, I just need 10 people to tell me they're going to pay me $1,000 to get them from A to B. And then I've made 10 grand and had my best month ever. And I can start building more confidence.
Yeah, no, that's a good call out. Like all you're looking for right now is a direction. You can like learn from both sides. So like when I talk about like the product for 0 to 10 is literally just like, how do I solve that's 10 to 30, 0 to 10. So like, it's just building and launching an MVP and getting feedback. So like you want to put your product out, you want to hit 10K, you want to see, okay, like from that volume, what have I done? What worked well? What didn't work well? Let's kind of go back and fix this. Everyone has to start here. It like held me back for a long time of like setting too big of goals of like, I'm going to build $1 billion thing. And then you measure everything against that. To where like even pulling in another 2 or 3 like KMRR, you're like, oh fuck, I'm still like exceptionally far from $1 billion. Where if you chunk this journey down and kind of figure out, okay, like what's the next milestone, which is why we kind of broke it out from like 0 to 10, 10 to 30, 30 to 83, you can start to figure out like what that focus is within each of those and then really play to that. Second thing Keegan said, like really like, he's like, you don't have to be, if you want to be world-class, that's like, you need to like be very honest with yourself about what that takes and what good looks like. Because like there's a level of obsession that leads to being world-class. I don't think it's like, I'm not sure it's the other way around. So like Ben Patrick like started solving the problem of knees. That is one joint on the body. And even from like a joint standpoint, like the shoulder and ankle and hand do a ton more stuff than the knee. But like he focused purely on what is causing knee pain, and then coupled that with like his story of going through all that. Obsessed for years and years and years how to solve that problem. And then only then, once he like had a good solution for it, branched out. You can go very far on just one very specific point, but it's kind of like a forced feedback loop. In you thinking about that point, you just end up thinking about it more, applying more to it than anyone else. And like, that's how you solve the problem. If you look at like the great like physicians and mathematicians, they were focused on solving like one or two really big things. They were big, but they spent a lifetime doing that. So like, that's what world-class looks like. But I think for you right now, just getting in the game and getting good, you just need to focus on like, am I executing the fundamentals well? And do I know what good looks like at that level? So to roll through the answers of the bottleneck, we'll kind of cover that to close out. And then like, we're 30 minutes in. Is this helpful? Everyone give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Zach, like, get out of here. Cool. I see more thumbs up and thumbs downs. That is solid. So with the bottleneck, Garrett said sales and pipeline. Chris, assuming we can get more clients, the obstacles, the operations, meaning we can do that. Marketing, appropriate avatar, proper marketing and sales, clarity of vision, education, and web-based servicing. Cool. So we're just going to round that out and go, if the bottleneck is marketing, anyone who said that, give me like a 2-minute explanation. And we can start with Garrett on why you think like within marketing is a big bucket. What is the bottleneck within marketing?
I think I said I don't really know even how to start, what methods are available to pursue.
What
Did that
methods
come
are?
through?
Yeah. So you don't know how to start. What methods are available?
Yes, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
So where do you think you should start?
Google search. What are some marketing methods I can use, or a ChatGPT query?
Yes. I mean, that is a perfectly fine way to start. I can like give you 3 you should focus on, but like, if you don't know what to do, like figuring out what to do is the most important thing you can do. And then once you do know what to do, figuring out the smallest way you could take action towards that one thing is then the most important thing. Where so many people screw up is they don't know what to do, then they never figure it out, or if they figure it out, they never chunk that down small enough to actually move forward on it. So like Garrett's example, you probably need to go into like YouTube or Dr. Google and say, how do I market? Like, what are some good ones? Or just look at other small data science firms and see what they're doing. Because I'm a bit nicer than that today, I will kind of say for 0 to 10, this is how I think about marketing. And this is like an entire lecture in itself, but like, we'll dive into this. You need to figure out 2 things, your price point and a method to do. Your price point, I would just pick whatever you can confidently deliver. You are never going to sell something that you don't 100% stand behind. So you need to toggle that price down or up until you can say it with a straight face every time, saying like, hey, this is my offer, take it or leave it. And if people say like, it's not worth it to me, you understand the value you're delivering, and you can either try to work them off of that. But like, if they get off the call and they make a decision, which is like the point of a sales call, and they say like, it's just not worth it to me, cool, not my person. Until you have a price that you can confidently deliver at, you are just going to be playing these like mental gymnastics of like, oh, I need to like offer my thing for super expensive because that's what like influencer X, Y, and Z said to do, or like, I'm not charging enough. If you're just starting out, like back to the MVP thing, like you're just trying to get enough feedback to figure out if like what you were trying to solve is the right thing. And if what you were doing is good, the faster you can get that feedback and people on board saying that like, this is a good product or not a good product, or a problem worth solving, not a problem worth solving, the more you are going to be able to grow the business long-term. Where people get really screwed up is like, they have a thing, it's not worth a lot. They try to overcharge for it. They're not confident they can deliver. Their sales calls don't go very well. and like they're 3-6 months into this and they're afraid to getting on the phone and sell people and afraid to promote it because they're not confident in the value they deliver. So that's step one. Step two would be you need to pick a method. You just need to pick a method and go with it. There are a multitude of different ways you could do this. I kind of break it down to like inbound, outbound, partners, or ads. Inbound, creating content, telling your story, why you're good. It's more manual, but it's free. Outbound, same thing, like manual and free. You need to reach out to people, say like, hey, here's my thing. Is this worth it to you? Partners in affiliate marketing. Normally you want to have a more experienced product here. I should probably just take it out of 0 to 10K entirely, to be very honest, which is what I'll do. So you want to have a product you're confident in, because if like people are going to offer you through affiliate marketing and they tell people about your product and it sucks, you just burned a really good bridge that could have been like a good opportunity later on. And then ads. So if you have the money to run paid ads, you can experiment with this, but like you also need to view this as an experiment. Again, like nobody comes out of the ads thing and like starts hitting home runs right away. So with this, Hormozy had a really good rule of thumb on this, is like $100 a day for 90 days. So like if you have $9,000, you can put towards figuring out ads. And like that's $9,000 that like, if you don't get a single customer and it burns up, you're okay with it, which you definitely should, because you're going to iterate day to day, week to week, but you need to be ready to part with that money. So if you don't, that narrows you back down to inbound or outbound. So for you, Garrett, inbound, outbound, or ads, which is it going to be?
Inbound sounds good because it'll help me develop my editing and content production skills, as well as hopefully lead to some sales.
Cool. And how long are you going to commit to it before you, like, when I say commit to it, I mean like iterate on it before you even think about doing something else?
What's a time frame that you would recommend?
3 to 6 months. I would say like for inbound, honestly, 6 months. Just because like I can tell you the first 4 to 8 weeks are you going to be you putting stuff out and nobody caring about it. And then maybe in like month 2 to 3, people start to take shape. And then maybe in, I would say like 3 to 4 months in, you start to get sales from it. And like after that, you'll have a compounding asset. But like nobody's going to put out, unless you have like tons of success before, inbound content, and it's just going to crush. Maybe you get lucky from reels or something pops off, but like it's the same kind of thing as the ads. Like play the mental game of not expecting anything from it, but you're like committed to making it better every time, and it'll go a lot more. I think what psychologically crushes people, and this goes with all facets of business, is like they expect things to be fast because they see someone doing it, which is like, again, like this is something I've had to go through as well. So like I'm comfortable speaking to it. You see people who are your age or something like that, just like absolutely crushing it in business. And you're like, oh, like I should be where they're at. But like you kind of think of like, how long have you been an entrepreneur? How long has your business been in existence versus like, how long have they been playing the game? It's kind of like you being in like university or high school and then seeing someone who's like coming up in the pros who's like 24 years old. The age gap is 4 to 6 years, but like them playing on Sunday and then you like playing on Friday nights in like a high school game, the difference in that like talent and skill level is massive, like absolutely massive. Same thing happened when I was playing rugby. You would see kids who would be like in the Super League at like 19, 20 years old. And I was like, well, crap, like I'm like also 19 and 20 years old, but like you forget that like those kids have been playing in like Australia and New Zealand since they were like 3 or 4. And so like the compounding reps you have and how much better they are at the game, you can get there, but it's still going to take a similar amount of time. So like you need to be realistic about that. So Garrett, was that helpful?
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to implement.
Cool. And then for the rest of the people who had marketing and sales, does this make sense? And like, are you pretty clear on like where you want to go with yours? Cool. So we have 5 minutes left. Those are the kind of the key points I want to cover. I think any just overs or questions Or I think like what would be really helpful, would love to go around the room. What was your biggest takeaway today? And then of that takeaway, what are you going to do? A very small action to implement it today. Go for it, Felix.
Yeah. So, well, first, thank you so much, both Keegan and you, Zach, and well, everyone here for all you've put in today, because it's always it always ends up being like some good information out. I think for me, the point where I have to implement, and you hit perfectly with the marketing stuff that I was, feeding in, where you were explaining now. It's inbound, outbound. I'm already doing inbound. I am, getting into a lot of calls and trying to make that better. But something that Keegan also mentioned is the outbound part of it. That's something I definitely need to do more of and do, figure out how to do before I start stepping into something else, and understanding the time frame, like understanding that at 4, 5, 6 months, like that's the time that I should be putting into this before really expecting anything to happen. And if something happens before, it's great, but the long-term like process has to go by first.
Yeah. And I think to caveat that, and I'll say this especially about outbound, I got this from Greg McEwen's book Effortless, and like I've been really enjoying it. Set a minimum and maximum bound to what you're going to do. Having done this before, again, my own personal experience with outbound, you can get very aggressive to start. So you're like, I'm going to send 100 messages per day. And what I've seen with that is like a lot of people end up doing that for like 4 or 5 days and then just don't do it again. So like to build any of this habits, so like inbound, outbound, commit to like a minimum and maximum bound. So like, what is the smallest thing you're going to do? Okay, like I'm at least going to send 5 messages today. I can hop on IG or Twitter or wherever and find 5 people to message. And then I'm going to send no more than 25 messages per day. And if I do that for like 30, 40 days, then I'll have a consistent habit that I can work off of. And that's worth a lot more to you, that compound interest of it, than doing something really, really hard for 4 days and then dropping off entirely.
Yeah, because then that's where it starts to feel like a burnout.
Yeah.
So right now I've been posting once a day, and it's been good for me. Like I have no problem doing it. I record it, so it keeps me active every day. I have heard some people that are like, hey, you should post 2 times a day. But it does get to that point where I'm like, fitting it into like my work schedule and everything I do with this and my learning and all. Going for 2 would turn to be more of like a hassle, and then it always feels like there is a burnout point. I feel like.
Yeah, well, the burnout point is just like you have not developed the exposure to be able to handle that. I think great anecdote to end on. We'll do one person. It's like training. If you train for years and like you get better at the exposure of training, you can eventually move to training like 2 times a day and your body can recover from it. If you just said that like we're going to train 2 times a day for like the next 2 weeks, it would crush a lot of people. So like you're just building up that exposure to like, it's like same thing with productivity and work. Like you're starting out with a little bit and you can just get better and better. Before I have to hop, one more takeaway. Building long-term assets at the same time. So like one more takeaway. Who wants to drop it in?
I think just with all of this being said, like what vibrational energy do I need to embody to make all this happen? And then just, checking in through the day. It's pretty much what has helped me with this. Like, it's like I'm playing the role of I'm an actor playing the role of whoever I am going after people. And I remember that. And so that way I don't take things personally, if that makes sense. Like my identity is not this, it's what I'm doing to empower, if that makes sense.
Dude, Brenna, I love that. And it's entirely right. Like the business is not you and you are not the business. Then like
I had to learn that the hard way, just because, you're passionate, you take it personal. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? They don't fucking get out, my value. And then it's like, anyway,
yeah.
But yeah,
I resonate with that hard. Launching a SaaS product and like getting out to the world, you're like, no, like this is great. Like you guys just don't know how to use it. And then you eventually have to look in the mirror and you're like, oh, like I need to do a lot of work. for other people to use this.
I appreciate it.
No worries, dude. That's all I've got today. Over the next kind of like coming weeks, we'll be kind of peeling back the rest of that. Like I said, it's probably better to walk through that sequentially, but I think that of the things we have today, there's probably enough for you guys to run through of like, what is that unique opportunity for you? What's the one thing holding your business back? And then I think the marketing and sales we touched on at the end is just like constructing it in a way that you're going to be able to get better at it each day and you're in it for the long game. But that's all I've got.
Well done, Zach. Epic. Appreciate it. Well done, everyone jumping in. Appreciate you, your energy and everything that you're trying to build. These are all important projects and there's a lot of fun in the process. Great addition there, Brandon, to finish on as well. Like it's important we have fun along the way. You can see Zach enjoys this conversation, and I do too. I get sometimes a bit too obsessed with like, let's fucking win now and everything. But that's part of the game, is to continue to balance those things of being driven, but also enjoying the process, being chill. So thanks everyone. Thanks, Zach. It's really, really valuable. I know it's a lot of years of thinking about this stuff to get to being able to have this fluid conversation. So well done doing the work on that. That's something we all want to be able to do. What is the topic that you can do what Zach's just done? That's the game. I know you've all got it in you as well. And there's a lot of fun in being the leader on that conversation. So I look forward to that with each of you. And have a great rest of the day. We speak again soon.
100%. Take care, y'all.
Take care, guys.